All right, so in this video, we're going to be making the paper plate flower, which you can dye this paper plate. If you watched the first video about dyeing coffee filters and stuff like that, you would know you could dye your plate like that. You could color it with color pencils, with markers, with paint, whatever you want. But the paper plate does have to be one of these very kind of thin paper plates. If it's really thick, it's a lot harder to work with. So first thing you're going to do is you need 3 of them, because you'll see you have 3 little layers, and I'm going to show you a little thing how to do the inside. But you need 3 paper plates. Okay. And I have 1 colored one, but the other 2, I'm going to show you some of this on the white. But what you're going to do is the first one, you're going to make your flower as big as you can. Fill the plate. Now, I just cut out petals, but you may want to draw it out. So I wouldn't draw the center because you don't need it. But if you want to draw your petals, get them all the way to the top, and they can be pretty close together. You only are going to be cutting out. Remember, everything comes from the center on a flower, okay? So you're making those big petals. As they come out. So you would only be cutting out these little parts. Now I would go all the way down that line. See how far I had it go down in there? Because actually, you know, you only have to cut out this little part. But you wouldn't be able to fold up your petals and make them kind of move. So make sure you go all the way in. Don't cut them out though. Okay, you want to make sure it stays together. So that would be your biggest flower once you cut it out. Then the next one is you're going to go bring it in and make it a little bit smaller. So you see these little ridges on here? This is where I'm going to bring my petals out to. Okay, so then I would draw my flower. And again, these do not have to be perfect flowers. If you want to do this in pencil, you can, so you know you make it. If you want to print out some kind of stencil from online, you can do that. So then you would cut all that out. But I want to show you a little trick on this, because you're going to be making the center part right in there out of this piece. So before you cut this one out, what I suggest you do is cut in just a little bit to your petal, and then cut around this entire rim. And this also makes it a little easier to cut out. So now I want to keep this part, okay, just on this one. And this I would have you have it colored. Like I have one here that I saved, okay, that has color. So then you would go ahead and cut out your center flower shape, okay? All right, so you do that. Last one, we went into about this ridge. You want to stay in this circle when you're creating your flower. So we're getting smaller and smaller as we go. Okay. Now this one, you don't have to save the ridge. You just keep it. Okay, now you're going to have your 3 pieces. Okay, got my littlest guy. See, I had these pre-cut out for you. I have my littlest guy, my next size bigger, so he should go in there, and then my largest one. Okay, and that's going to go in there. Now, a nice way to stack these is to kind of shift them so they're not laying perfectly on top of each other. You want some of those petals to go between the other petals. It'll make it look a little nicer. Okay, so what you're going to do for the next part, you can use regular Elmer's glue. You can use clear glue. You can try a glue stick. For this part, the glue stick will work. For one part, you might have an issue. I am using hot glue. Okay, now if you want to use hot glue, you have to ask your parents, okay? So I'm going to just put some in the center because this is pretty hot. The reason I'm using it is because it works pretty fast. It's good for this demonstration. So then I put this one on the top. If you are using regular Elmer's glue, I would suggest you really rub these two together and put pressure on it. See how I'm doing that? It'll really help it stick. That's the same with the glue stick. You might have to use a little bit more glue and really hold it together and be a little more patient for it to stick, okay? So with my hot glue, I don't have to have as much patience. Okay, now I'm gonna do the same thing. Put that and put this one in the center. Okay. Now I have my pretty little flower, but it's kind of flat. So you can take a pencil, you can take a marker, or anything you want. And what I do is I actually grab this petal and I roll it around my marker. Now I'm going to get a little fold. So like I said, you can use a pencil, you can do as little or as much. I kind of noticed, you know, you get to see the white of the paper on this. If you don't want it to be white, like I kind of went back on this one and painted with watercolor. But if you wanted to do that first, before you even cut stuff out, or after you cut out your thing and color the backs of this, so when you roll it up, you have another color, and that can always be cool too. Okay, so I'm going to roll all of these, and you're going to end up, I'm going to try to speed this up a little bit. Can you guys see what I'm doing here? So it's giving your flower a little life, and it'll roll and stay better the longer you hold that. So obviously you might have a little more time. And you know you want to take your time when you're making something for mom, right? So I even rolled up these ones. Now maybe you want to experiment with rolling it different ways. Maybe you're more of a folder. Maybe you want it to be a bigger roll, so you use a, you know, a bigger thing to roll it around. But so now we have the flower done. Now we need to make that center. Now this is a little tricky, okay? You might need some help, okay? So what you're gonna do, you're gonna take that piece, okay? And you probably only need about half of it, okay? You don't need this whole thing. Sometimes it gets a little taxing, so you just need about that much of it. I'm gonna use this one because you can see the color. And what you're gonna do is you're gonna put tiny, you know, if you can see those ridges in the paper still, you can. I'm not cutting it off. I'm just making some little cuts in here. So you'll see how I'm doing that? Okay. And I do that to the whole thing until I have something like this. Okay, it's the whole guy. Now, I'm going to take, you can take your marker, your pencil, whatever you have. And I'm actually going to put the colored side in because we're going to kind of flap them out. And what I do, I'm just going to take this. I have it on like a skewer right now, but you can use a marker. And I'm going to roll it all around, all of it together in a stack. That part's a little flimsy. But I have this nice little stack, okay? And at some point you might not even need that anymore. Okay, so I have this. And if I kind of branch these out, you can do this later, but that's what you're gonna get, right? So that's why I did it to the inside. So I have it, looks like a little spiral. Can you guys see that? And what I'm gonna do is take my glue, and you may, if you have Elmer's glue or something like that, you're gonna wanna pool it a little bit. Pooling means like you create like a bubble of glue. When you say, oh, that's a little too much glue, okay, you see how much is on there? Then I'm gonna stick this right in that, and I'm gonna kind of make sure that it all sticks. Now, if you use Elmer's glue, you are going to have to be very patient and let it dry, okay? I have Mine sticks a little faster and dries a little faster. So once I have it on there, I can open up my flower. And now I have a little center to my flower. Super cute, huh? Now, you might want to add leaves. You can color green paper. I painted green paper because I didn't have any. If you have green construction paper, more power to you. I had some scrapbook paper that was green, so I cut some leaves out of it. You want to make them pretty big, okay? You don't want to make the tiniest leaves because they're going to be sticking out the sides here. And a simple leaf shape, it's kind of like an eyeball, okay? I didn't make it absolutely perfect, right? And when I cut this out, if you want those little leaf notches, I can show you something really fun. So I'm going to cut this out. Now you may want to do your mark and pencil. Maybe you like it a marker, okay? Now, if you want those little notches like I have in here, real simple way, okay? This is the top of my leaf, so I'm always going to cut down. And I just make a little curve in there. I just curve it and then take another little piece, okay? So that's how you can make your little leaves. If you want, you can also add those veins in your leaves. One line down the center from side to side, and then you can just make lines going up, okay? They don't go sideways, they go up. So then you would have your little leaf marks. So I'm going to do that to here because I do like the look of it. Okay. Same thing if I wanted to do something a little more simple. Maybe they're just small. Maybe they're every other. Okay, so now for these leaves, I glue these two together first if I want them to kind of be together. It just helps them to stay. Put some glue on it. And you have this, okay? Then, again, I'm going to put glue on the leaves, but just on the bottom, so I know where I want to put them. So I take this. Where do I want those guys? I want them right about there. Then I'm going to do a little press and hold. If you're using hot glue, you can feel the warmth through the paper. Sometimes the thinner the paper, the more likely you are to get burned. So be careful, okay, if you're using hot glue. Oh, I glued it to the table. Okay, so now I have this. I could maybe make a little tag for Mom that says I love you and maybe glue that on. Maybe it's a heart. Maybe you add a little ribbon to it. But that is how you make your paper flower. Super cute, right? Okay, have fun with that. Good luck.